Nobel Peace Prize winner United Nations Food Agency failed to act as U.S. aid was looted by the Nobel Peace Prize winner, genocidal Prime Minister in Ethiopia, REUTERS October 18, 2024. On a scorching March afternoon last year, an American aid worker was sitting on a stool in the town of Shiraro in the war-scarred Ethiopian region of Tigray, sipping traditional roasted coffee when a red truck filled with sacks of grain came into view. The 50-kilo bags were stamped USAID, short for the U.S. Agency for International Development, the world's largest donor of food assistance. The grain was supposed to help some of the millions of people in Tigray who depend on food donations to survive. But instead of heading to its intended destination, a camp filled with starving people, the red truck was moving in the wrong direction. The USAID worker, joined by several colleagues, decided to follow it. USAID officials say they soon learned that thousands of tons of donated grain were being diverted to commercial mills and markets throughout Ethiopia. The chance discovery shocked USAID, which announced the bare outlines of the alleged scheme in May 2023 and said it had launched an investigation. The United Nations World Food Program, a major distributor of food aid and a key USAID partner in feeding the hungry in Ethiopia and globally, said it too would investigate. The aid giants suspended food aid distribution throughout Ethiopia as they examined the matter, disrupting supplies to millions of hungry people for at least 5 months. They have yet to release findings or name suspects. Yet humanitarian aid workers and U.S. officials believe the caper marked one of the biggest thefts and diversions of food aid ever documented. While the total loss may never be known, a Tigrayan official has said that more than 7,000 tons of wheat were stolen. Enough grain to feed more than 450,000 people for a month. Cindy McCain, the head of the WFP, said in a public statement at the time that the UN body had zero tolerance for theft or diversion. But a Reuters investigation found that the WFP was aware food aid was being stolen in Ethiopia for several years and repeatedly failed to act. Aid was being funneled to the Ethiopian and Tigrayan armies as well as to the black market, according to an internal USAID slide presentation viewed by Reuters. The WFP was warned by its own staff and other aid organizations as early as 2021 about food diversion occurring throughout the country. 4 UN workers and diplomats told Reuters. They said the WFP chose to look the other way amid the civil war then tearing the country apart. It feared the Ethiopian government might retaliate by limiting the number of trucks delivering aid to embattled Tigray. The WFP told Reuters it lacks sufficient details to comment on those incidents of food diversion. An official with the Ethiopian Disaster Risk Management Commission, the country's relief agency, denied the government would have limited the flow of aid into Tigray. Some U.S. officials privately accused the UN food body of being untrustworthy. An internal WFP investigative report, seen by Reuters, cites a May 2023 cable from Washington's top U.S. diplomat in Ethiopia at the time. The scale and depth of diversion in areas where the WFP managed food relief calls into question WFP's ability to be a faithful and principled partner for distributing food in Ethiopia. USAID employees discovered that donated food was being diverted across the country in a systematic way and on an industrial level, according to the presentation of the agency's preliminary investigation, which covers the period March to May 2023. The Ethiopian military was regularly redirecting donor-funded wheat to private mills to be turned into flour for its soldiers, the presentation said, and predatory racketeers were manipulating the hungry into selling them their rations. In its internal report, the WFP acknowledges aid was diverted to markets and mills on a large scale after it had delivered the food to its local partners for distribution to the needy, but it found no evidence that the organization itself was responsible. Instead, the report points to the civilians who were the intended recipients of the aid. The diversion was primarily driven by beneficiaries in Ethiopia who sold some of their food rations, the January 2024 report says. The food theft in Ethiopia shows how a global system designed to tackle hunger and prevent famine, comprised of UN agencies, non-governmental humanitarian groups, and donor countries led by the US, can be subverted by corruption, lax administrative controls, and local government misrule. That system is already under enormous strain. Last year, nearly 282 million people in 59 countries and territories faced high levels of acute food insecurity. They included more than 36 million children under 5 years old who were acutely malnourished. Stopping the distribution of food was a disaster, said Abune Tesfaselassie Medhin, the bishop of the Catholic diocese of Adigrat, a city in Tigray. People were dying, the health of children and elders worsened. It is a sin. This story, the first comprehensive account of the aid theft and its consequences for Ethiopians, is based on previously unreported findings of the WFP investigation and USAID's preliminary probe. Reporters also interviewed more than 20 people familiar with the case, including US, UN, and Ethiopian officials, diplomats, and aid workers. Who masterminded the food diversion scheme remains a mystery. USAID and the WFP are continuing to investigate. In response to questions, the WFP said it takes measures to investigate and prevent the misuse of food assistance when it detects the illegal sale of large quantities of humanitarian supplies. Ethiopian and Tigrayan officials denied their militaries received diverted food aid. The Tigrayan government said aid recipients often contributed to what it called its citizen army. One outcome of the scam is clear. The scandal has left a rift between USAID and the WFP, the two giant humanitarian organizations that partner to provide life-saving food aid to millions of the world's hungriest. USAID plans to phase out the WFP as its food distributor in Tigray and the rest of northern Ethiopia over the next 9 months or so, turning to other aid groups instead, USAID officials told Reuters. Both USAID and the WFP said they remain valued partners. USAID said its decision to use other aid groups in northern Ethiopia was based on cost efficiencies and lower projected needs. The diversion of food was a disgrace. Andrew Mitchell, who served as Britain's Minister for Africa until July, told Reuters, "You can't expect American taxpayers to go to the aid of starving people if those same taxpayers are then informed that the money has been stolen by the soldiery." The WFP continues to face food diversion and other crimes in Ethiopia, an internal document shows. The WFP's monthly incident report on Ethiopia for August reported 39 cases, including allegations of aid diversion, theft, the extortion of beneficiaries, and the discovery of donated food for sale in local markets. WFP told Reuters these were minor incidents and didn't indicate large-scale diversion. U.S. Senator James E. Risch, the top Republican on the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, called the diversion of food aid intolerable. This system denied millions of people access to life-saving aid while enabling corrupt officials and armed combatants to serve their own objectives, he told Reuters. Those responsible for diversion must be held accountable.
Mr. President, fellow senators, I come to the floor today to talk about the business at hand. Obviously, it's a vote that we're going to take at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Risch on U.S. food aid diversions in Ethiopia. U.S. Senator Jim Risch, Republican, Idaho, ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, today released the following statement on the diversion of U.S. food aid in Ethiopia. It is deplorable that U.S. government food aid, which was intended to help prevent the mass starvation of innocent civilians in Ethiopia, has been diverted by criminals in a carefully coordinated, widespread, and systematic scheme to profit materially and strategically from that aid. This should infuriate every American taxpayer. The first principle of effective foreign aid is to do no harm, which the Biden administration has failed miserably to do here. U.S. agencies have been busy highlighting their self-proclaimed progress at getting food to those in need and ending a war that has destroyed millions of innocent lives. Yet, we now know that leaders at the top of these organizations in Washington, New York, Rome were aware that implementers on the ground could not guarantee the aid was getting into the right hands. It adds insult to injury that this occurred as the world experiences a global food shortage. This is unacceptable. The issue of food diversion is just part of a pattern of behavior with the Ethiopian government. It is foolish to think that the Ethiopian government is working with us in good faith, and we cannot be fooled again. The lack of oversight and guardrails of U.S. humanitarian assistance should not stand.
Psalm 109. Hold not thy peace, O God of my praise. For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are opened against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue. They compassed me about also with words of hatred, and fought against me without a cause. For my love they are my adversaries. But I give myself unto prayer, and they have rewarded me evil for good, and hatred for my love. Set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand. When he shall be judged, let him be condemned, and let his prayer become sin. Let his days be few, and let another take his office. Let his children be fatherless, and his wife a widow. Let his children be continually vagabonds, and beg. Let them seek their bread also out of their desolate places. Let the extortioner catch all that he hath, and let the stranger spoil his labor. Let there be none to extend mercy unto him, neither let there be any to favor his fatherless children. Let his posterity be cut off, and in the generation following, let their name be blotted out. Let the iniquity of his fathers be remembered with the Lord, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out. Let them be before the Lord continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth, because that he remembered not to show mercy, but persecuted the poor and needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart. As he loved cursing, so let it come unto him. As he delighted not in blessing, so let it be far from him. As he clothed himself with cursing like as with his garment, so let it come into his bowels like water, and like oil into his bones. Let it be unto him as the garment which covereth him, and for a girdle wherewith he is girded continually. Let this be the reward of mine adversaries from the Lord, and of them that speak evil against my soul. But do thou for me, O God the Lord, for thy name's sake, because thy mercy is good, deliver thou me. For I am poor and needy, and my heart is wounded within me. I am gone like the shadow when it declineth. I am tossed up and down as the locust. My knees are weak through fasting, and my flesh faileth of fatness. I became also a reproach unto them. When they looked upon me, they shaked their heads. Help me, O Lord my God, O save me according to thy mercy, that they may know that this is thy hand, that thou, Lord, hast done it. Let them curse, but bless thou. When they arise, let them be ashamed, but let thy servant rejoice. Let mine adversaries be clothed with shame, and let them cover themselves with their own confusion as with a mantle. I will greatly praise the Lord with my mouth, yea, I will praise him among the multitude, for he shall stand at the right hand of the poor, to save him from those that condemn his soul.